Through the lens of 21st century attitudes, it's hard to believe that 60 years ago, a woman's role was that of homemaker and that the responsibility of parenting was almost exclusively left to her. But when you boil it down, the story of motherhood in Australia comes down to one word: choice.
And what better way to find out how those changes have impacted on families than to meet 3 generations of inspirational mothers from the one family.
This is Pauline. She was born in 1941. Her daughter Rosa was born in 1959 and her daughter Kate in 1984. The bond that mothers share with their families is timeless. So to celebrate Pauline, Rosa and Kate's maternal spirit and learn a little more about how their lives have differed, I'm joined by artist Ruben Bortwood this afternoon as we both try to paint an honest picture of Aussie motherhood across 3 generations.
Pauline, I need to start with you. Explain to us your motherhood life. When did you first have children?
My first son was born when I was 18, next one when I was 19, the next one when I was 22, and the last one when I was 27.
How old were you when you got married?
16.
It's very young.
It is. I never finished school. I left school at 14. I should have come to school when I came to Australia.
Motherhood has changed dramatically over the years. Women's history expert Professor Tanya Evans explains.
In the 1960s, the average family was having about 3 children, and in the 21st century, you're looking more at just under 2 per family. So, you see this enormous decline in family size, which does mean that women's lives are structured very differently.
To be a woman or a mother during Australia's first 60 years as a nation was a tough gig. In the 1930s, thanks to the Depression, 1 in 4 of Aussie mothers had no way of paying for food, clothes or rent. In the 40s, our men left for war and 800,000 Aussie women and mothers rolled up their sleeves to make planes, guns and bullets instead of babies. But in the 1950s, when Pauline was starting her family at the tender age of 18, women had to give up their wartime jobs and were encouraged to stay at home, raise children, care for their husbands. Fast forward to the 60s and 70s, and Rosa's generation of women were entering a brave new world.
I was 24 when I had Kate, and I still was pretty naive as to what I was in for as being a parent.
The 70s was a defining time for women, equality and the choices they could make.
The women's liberation movement becomes very significant in the 1970s, and women, make far greater demands for economic and social and sexual autonomy in that period. But also we have contraception, which is also one of the other big stories behind the decline in family size. For the first time, really, women are able to control their capacity to have children. And that was a long battle for many, many years.
By 1971, over 50% of all working women were married.
Motherhood, when I look back, I had no career ambition whatsoever. I worked full-time in a bank. I used to watch women come in with babies, and that was what I wanted.
I think that increasing educational opportunity means that women have left motherhood till later, so we have far greater proportions of women coming through secondary education through to tertiary education.
I was lucky enough to land a full-time job out of university. I like having something to work towards and to create. It's just how I am.
What does having a job do for you?
It motivates me. I can be with my kids and I know that I've got something that I'm doing for myself, and that is absolute motivation for me to be a better mum, I guess. I can teach my girls that you can not have it all, but you can balance it.
And so, after listening to these 3 proud ladies talk me through their experiences and the choices they've made as women, a beautiful portrait of Australian motherhood has come into focus, stroke by stroke, generation after generation.
Have the women in your life had an enormous impact on you?
Yeah.
What have you learned from them?
I think from Nan. I don't want to cry.
It's true though, it's emotional because we've all learnt from Mum.
She's very strong.
Yeah, very.
Very strong, and I think I have that in me from Nan and from Mum.
Would you like to see the finished product?
I'd love it.
Reuben?
Wow.
Oh my God. You are a clever man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's just so nice.
Oh no,
That is amazing. Like, we've never really had any, I don't know, anything like that.